Hi, this is Suzanne Williams with Essential Oils, Health Matters, and Living the Wholesome Life. And today we are on week 12, day 4 of, oh, 4, that's right, of our positive, peaceful growth journey. We are following Dr. Susan Lawton's calendar, which is called the Positive, Peaceful Growth Calendar. You can buy it at Aroma Tools or Oil Life. The affirmation, if you've been following us, you know that we have an affirmation for the week and an affirmation for the day. And the affirmation that we're working on for the entire week is I am forgiving myself for waiting to be happy. Okay, so as you're thinking about things that, why you've waited to be happy, think of things that maybe you weren't. Maybe you decided, I don't need to be on the path for happiness now. I can be on this other path for whatever reason. So maybe you've ignored religion in your life. Religion tends to lead people to happiness. Maybe you've ignored religion in your life. Forgive yourself for ignoring religion. If that's something that you want to include in your life, don't keep procrastinating it. Like, there's tons of churches out there. I love my church. I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we love to have visitors, and I don't think I know a church that doesn't love to have visitors. We have visited many churches. The Catholic Church loves to have visitors. Methodist Church loves to have visitors. Presbyterian Church, Jewish synagogues, all of these people, as we go and visit the different churches, which is not something that we often do because there's just not time, because we love the faith that we have. But we've never been to a church where they said, I'm sorry, you can't come in. And so I'm just saying that if you want religion in your life, quit procrastinating it, forgive yourself for procrastinating it, and get the religion that you want in your life. Okay? That said, maybe you want to be healthy and you've chosen the path of not healthy eating. Forgive yourself for that. Move on and choose healthier eating. Maybe you've tended in the past to be more of a person who doesn't really have boundaries, and so sometimes people walk all over you. Like, okay, or things come into your environment that you don't like in your environment, and you're in charge of your environment, especially your own home, and you just haven't set the boundaries to say, no, I don't want that in my home. That's making me unhappy. I don't feel like that's good. So let's forgive ourselves of that in the past. Let's set our healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries, right? It can lead to happiness. Whatever it is that you feel like in the past that you have done that has led to on the path to sadness, forgive yourself for that. We don't, just because we take the first steps on a road doesn't mean we have to take the last. In fact, there's a song, it goes, if you choose the very first step on the road, you also choose the last. So if you don't like the end of the road, you better back up, you better back up fast. Anyway, that's from a song called My Turn on Earth, which I totally love. It kind of it's a way to let children see some principles of life. Anyway, so just because you are on one path does not mean that you cannot back up and get on a different path, right? I was listening to a general conference talk, which is a talk that's given by our prophet and apostles in our church, and it was actually taught by one of the apostles who was in his history, he was an airplane pilot, and he talked about the point of safe return, that when you're in an airplane only has so much fuel, and if you're flying over an ocean or if you're flying wherever, the point of safe return is when you can still turn around and go back to the same airport that you left. Okay, so that's the point of safe return. And President Uchtdorf, who was teaching this, giving this talk, he basically said Satan will try to convince you that there is a point of no return, that you've passed the point of no return. Let's say that you did something awful in your life, And Satan will try to convince you, you know what, you've already blown it. You've already blown it. You can't repent from this. You can't get over this. Just keep going down the same road, right? That's what Satan's going to try to convince us to do. But that's not what we want to do. Like, there's no truth in the saying that you can reach a point of no return as long as you are alive. As long as you have the ability to think and to change, you can always repent. You can always choose a different path. So in your past, if you have chosen a path that is not good, forgive yourself of it. Do all the repair that you need to do to repent of it and make amends, and then choose a better path. Like today, let's all choose the paths that lead to the greatest happiness. Okay. And forgive yourself for whatever you've chosen in the past. Okay, going on. The affirmation for today. I really had to think and struggle a little bit with this affirmation, and it is, I allow others to be wrong quietly. Now, this is something that I had to think about because there's like two different thoughts on this issue. The thought of, if you see someone doing something wrong that can hurt them, do you have an obligation to say something? Now, I think that's a very, very deep question where we have to kind of go with, what are our values? What do we value the most? And what do we want to do? Okay, and that question, that am I going to say something if I feel like someone's going in a wrong direction that can hurt them? Am I going to say something? It also brings into the very, very age-old question that has been with us since the dawn of time, and that's, am I my brother's keeper? If I can see something that a person that I love is doing wrong, that's hurtful to them, do I have an obligation to say something about that? Okay, so this is some of my thoughts on that, and some of my struggles, and how I've tried to make sense of this affirmation. And then I would love for you to share how you make sense of this affirmation. Okay, so one of the things that I listened to was a talk by Dallin H. Oaks, which is another one of our apostles in our church. And he was actually, in his past history, he was a Supreme Court Justice of Utah. And he gives a talk that is called Where Will It Lead? And in that talk, he tells a story of a squirrel and a dog. Now, the setting is a park, and he is kind of coming into this park, or someone, I don't know who, I don't remember that part of the story, but anyway, let's just say you're at this park, and you see a group of people that are intently watching this tree. And so, like, he gets a little bit closer. It's like, why are people intently watching this tree? And what's happening is that there's a squirrel in the tree, right? But the people aren't really, really watching the squirrel. The people, and then you notice this dog that's watching this squirrel, right? And what's happening is that the squirrel is going around the tree a little bit, and each time the squirrel was out of the sight of the dog took a few steps closer to where the squirrel was going to be next time, right? I guess my son Caleb just told me that the squirrel was on the ground and the dog was on the ground. Okay, so there you go. And but it was running around this tree, and each time the squirrel kind of went out of sight, this dog would get closer and closer, until finally the predictable happened. And the squirrel came around, the dog nabbed it. At that point, everyone rushed forward to try to save the squirrel, but it was too late. The squirrel was dead. So to me, that story shows that oftentimes people on the outside can see things more clearly than you can, which is one of the reasons that we want to have counselors. We want to have coaches and mentors and parents that we go to with problems, and friends that we are like, hey, I'm having this problem, like we're being authentic hey, I'm having this problem. What are you seeing? Caleb, can you give me some water, please? What are you seeing as like a possible solution here? Or what are you seeing the dangers or the problems? This is why we have others, because often time people outside of our lives will can see things more clearly than we can when we're in the thick of things. Okay, so which is why it's really important to maybe have people who love us enough to kind of be our brother's keepers and say, hey, you might be going into this dangerous place. Anyway, so the other thing that I was thinking, they're saying, oh, okay, so one of my friends the other day, she had just made a website, and she sent the link to her website to me, and she's like, Suzanne, I know, would you just mind looking over this? And I told her some of the really good things that I liked about her website, but I also told her the things, your link's broken, or I really love this picture. This picture doesn't kind of work with your energy and the way you do things in life. This picture doesn't really work with that to me, and so you kind of, when you're as you're having counselors and advisors, you need to pick people who actually be honest, who actually love you enough to be honest with you in different things. Okay, so President Oaks goes on to say, who did this talk with the squirrel in it, and the squirrel and the dog in it, basically said that we don't always need to say things when people are kind of doing something that we think might be dangerous or wrong or whatever. But sometimes we do. Sometimes we really are obligated to say some things. And this is what he said. He said, when consequences are immediate and serious, we cannot afford to do nothing. We cannot afford to say nothing. Okay, so let's give ourselves some scenarios to work with. So you have a 4-year-old. He's crossing the street. You see a car he's about to cross the street. The 4-year-old is about to cross the street, and you see this car coming down. You don't just let the 4-year-old make his own mind up or her own mind up and cross when they want to. No, you're as the parent, as the friend, the guardian, you're no. Do you see that car coming down the street? Let's wait till the car passes so that it can be safe. Okay, and then you teach the concept of looking back and forth. You teach the principle so they learn to govern themselves, right? And so now there are some things that are completely inconsequential. Should I wear the yellow sweater? Should I wear the purple sweater? Right? That really it doesn't probably really matter. And the consequences of that are not going to be serious. Someone puts on an outfit that you don't like or whatever. You probably don't need to put your 2 cents in on that one. But when consequences are serious and immediate, if they don't have time to, anyway. So I'm just going to say, in situations like that, you might love a person enough to open your mouth and say, hey, yeah, that's not a good idea. Maybe you're at a party and, drinking is bad for you and can get you into some horrible situations. Your friend who says that they don't want to drink is about to, maybe indulge. And you can say, hey, let's not do that. Let's maybe get out of here and do something different. You see one of your friends about to take drugs, or you see one of your friends, let's say you're in high school and your friend is taking drugs. Is that something that could have immediately bad consequences? Yeah. Could they have immediately serious consequences? Yes, your friend could die. Should you tell your friend's parents? Should you tell, the principal of the school or whatever? I would say yes. If you love your friend, yes. Even if you don't love your friend, yes. Because we have an obligation to each other to help keep each other safe. Okay? That's my thought on it. And I do think that's what the scriptures say. We have an obligation to help make sure that people aren't going down wrong roads. You have a friend at work, and you can see that he or she is starting to develop, they're married, and they're starting to develop an inappropriate relationship at work. Should you say something? Again, in my opinion, it's a yes. You should. You should step forward and be a big enough friend to say, hey, this looks like it could go into a very damaging situation to your marriage. Don't do that, right? Let's stand up. When the consequences are serious or when the consequences are immediate, let's be there enough friends to stand up. Okay, so what does it mean then to allow others to be wrong quietly? If the consequences don't really matter, let them do what they want. Let's even support them in what they're doing, right? If the consequences really don't matter. If the consequences, when it comes to speaking out or being quiet, I do think that sometimes we need to do some prep work before saying things. If there's enough time, maybe we need to do a little bit of prep work. Maybe we need to relationship build. Maybe we need to take a person out to lunch and just get them some food in their body so that their minds are working better. They're a little bit more receptive to what we're going to say. Let's do the prep work that we need so that when we do, float the different ideas, that they might be more receptive. And then sometimes you really have no control about whether a person is going to choose a right decision or a wrong decision. Oftentimes, you really have no control whether a person is going to choose a right decision or a wrong decision. And in that case, I think that's when the quiet comes in. Maybe the decision's already been made, the consequences are already being made, coming to pass. And that's when we just love them anyway, right? We are just quiet. We don't say, I told you so, although that's sometimes super hard not to say. We are just quiet and we love them anyway, right? So, I don't know. Do your own thinking. So I'm going to tell you the affirmation for today again, and it's, I allow others to be wrong quietly. To me, I'm going to switch that affirmation for me, and I'm going to say, I love people enough that if I see them going down a wrong or a dangerous path, I'm going to point out the characteristics, and then whatever they do, I'm going to love them anyway. I'm just going to love them anyway. That's kind of going to be my affirmation for today. Okay, so do you remember last week when we were talking about our creativity and doing certain things? I just want to give a quick success. Okay, so last week's affirmation was, I am reigniting my creativity. So, and I talked on one of the days last week on this closet behind me and how in our house sometimes people kick off their shoes and they throw them at the bottom of the closet, and it's just cluttered with shoes, right? There's no rhyme or reason. You have to hunt through all the shoes with 6 people in the house that are kind of doing that. You have to hunt through all the shoes to find the ones that you want. And then sometimes they leave in the middle of the floor, they leave them by the door, whatever. So shoes was a clutter problem in my house. Now, what I decided to do and what I talked about on that doing was, these used to be accordion doors behind me, and they opened up like accordion wise. And I'm like, it would be so cool if instead of accordion doors, they were French doors, and you could just open them up, because then I could put something on the back of the closet, and we could hang this beautiful shoe organizers on the backs of these doors, and then people wouldn't have to throw them on the bottom of the floor and try to hunt for them. They wouldn't have to leave them out on the floor, because it would be just open the door, put your shoes away. Well, you know what? I'm kind of like the instigator of ideas in my house, and my husband Derek is kind of the fairy godmother who makes things happen, right? And so that's what he did. He changed these doors into from accordion doors to French doors, so they open out. He put like little brackets and hinges and whatever else that you have to do. And then my son Caleb was the one who finished the project, and he hung the shoe organizers. And then today, because that all happened yesterday, so today we are going to put their shoes into the organizers. Everyone in the family, there's 6 people in our family right now, because the first 5 of our children have left and grown and are on with other important and wonderful things in their life. And so there's only 6 people in our family now, and so we each have room to put either 4 pairs of shoes down here or 2 pairs of shoes and things that we usually use that we just want to, keep in this room, so that just like to have an ease of getting to, like maybe a person's wallet or their glasses or something like that. Anyway, I'm super excited. Just an example of using how an affirmation, like thinking about an affirmation for a week, can be life-changing. I think that clearing the clutter is going to be life-changing for me. Okay, so that's just one of my success stories. If you're having success stories with the different affirmations, if you're changing your life in positive ways, we would totally love to hear what your success stories and what you're doing. Okay, so we talked about the affirmation for today. You can choose on what you think about being quiet or letting your voice be heard. When it comes to people choosing the wrong things, that's your choice. You get to have that struggle and to think deeply about what your values are, and maybe which situations warrant you being more quiet, and which situations warrant you being more vocal in pointing out the dangers. Anyway, so again, that's the affirmation for this week. For today. You know that we always pair a song with our affirmation, and that is the song for this week is "Forgiveness" by Matthew West. If you guys can think of a song about letting your voice be heard or being quiet, post it in the comments. The song that's coming to me right now about that is Sara Bareilles'. I think that's how you say her name. Anyway, her song "Brave." I want to see you be brave. I want, let the words out. Anyway, I'll post the link I'll post a link for that in the comment section. Okay, so you know that we're also diffusing in 3 oils, a blend that there's always 3 oils that we diffuse each week, and the oils that we're diffusing this week are Bergamot, which is the oil of self-acceptance, and Helichrysum, which is the oil of emotional and physical pain, and Juniper Berry. Now, Juniper Berry is the oil of the night or the unknown, and we are going to have so much fun delving into the gifts that Juniper Berry can give us. The first thing that you need to know is that Juniper Berry comes from the berries of the juniper tree. If you have a juniper tree near you, you can take the berry. Sometimes they're a white berry, sometimes a little bit of blue, or white kind of tinged with blue. Or blue tinged with white, however you like to think about that. And then you can squish them between your fingers and you can smell them. And oh my goodness, that's going to wake you up. Totally going to wake you up. It's a very pungent, very strong blend. And Juniper Berry does. It tends to awaken your senses to different things. Okay, it was used by the ancient Babylonians, by the ancient Egyptians, by the ancient Greeks, and the ancient Romans, and also by Native Americans for its different medicinal properties. And they used it sometimes, the Native Americans used it to increase their strength and their stamina. Okay, so again, we know that every oil does exactly fit emotionally what it does for us physically. So if it's going to increase our strength and our physical strength and stamina, it's going to increase our emotional strength and stamina. Christmas is one of the busiest times of the year. Who doesn't need an uplift to their emotional strength and stamina, right? I don't know. I can always use an uplift in that one. It's also good at detoxing the liver and the kidneys. Now, we've explored the liver many, many different times. And we know that Chinese medicine says that we keep anger in our liver, right? And so to cleanse that, to detox that. It's just a way of releasing and letting go. Just like, can you feel the freedom already? Like getting rid of the angry, the bitter emotions, right? Okay, so what do the kidneys do? Because we haven't really explored this on this channel yet. So let me tell you what Chinese medicine thinks that the kidneys do and what emotions are stored there. So, fear you store in your kidneys. If your kidneys are not strong and functioning at their best, you can suffer from weak willpower. Okay, if you suffer from a lot of insecurities, that might come from a problem with the kidneys. If you tend to be aloof, or you tend to be isolated, and being aloof and isolated can come from, right? It can come from being insecure and being fearful and being weak-willed. Let's say that you're going to the office party, right? And you're like, oh, no one's gonna like me. You have that little insecurity. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you're going to your husband's office party, and you're like, oh, all these people, I'm going to meet all these professionals, and I'm a stay-at-home mom, and you're going to be, some people have insecurities that they won't be met as and appreciated by who they are if they don't have some big old title job, right? I think most of the time that's not the case. I think most of the time people love you and accept you for who you are, for how kind and loving and honestly how interested in them you are. And how great you make them feel. So, but that said, a lot of times at this time of year especially, we can go into new situations and we can feel insecure. And if we don't have a strong will, like if we have a strong will, we can sometimes overcome that. You know what? Yeah, I don't know anyone at this party. I'm afraid they're not going to like me, but I'm going to go make some new friends because there's probably a lot of cool people here. And so if you have a strong will, you can kind of force yourself into doing things that you might be fearful of doing, right? But if you have a weak will, that might be a bigger struggle for you. And so you might not be the person out there making the friends. And so you might be more aloof or isolated. Anyway, so if you're fearful, have weak willpower, feel insecure, if you tend to be aloof or feel isolated, Juniper Berry can help because it can help cleanse and support your kidneys. Okay, so Chinese medicine merging with essential oils. Don't you love it? Okay, so because we know it's a very good kidney detox and also a very good liver detox, it's also amazing for people that are trying to stop and detox from their addictions. So you know that alcohol affects your liver. I'm not sure exactly what drugs affect. They probably affect different organs and systems, different drugs. But because Juniper Berry is such a powerful cleanser, it can help cleanse out the toxins and maybe even some of the addictive feelings that go along with that. Some people drink because they're afraid of things. Some people drink because they're angry at life. Some people use drugs because they're afraid of things. And some people use drugs because they're angry at life. And I'm sure that there's sadness that can go in with that too. And, sadness, I definitely recommend a different oil. It's stored in your lungs. And so we'd want something that would support the lungs. And we'll probably get into that later. But just saying that it can be that Juniper Berry can be a very strong cleanser when you're trying to break free from addictions. Now, if you're trying to break free from a pornography addiction, would I say use Juniper Berry? Absolutely. But I would also say pair that Juniper Berry with frankincense, because they say that frankincense is the #1 oil to help with pornography addictions. So I just wanted to bring that out. Okay, so you know that Juniper Berry is called the oil of the night or the unknown. So when you think of Juniper Berry, what I want you to do is I want you instantly to think of fear of the dark or the unknown. It's going to help. Now, there's a lot of different ways to be afraid of the dark, right? You can be afraid of the dark because you have nightmares or because you have night terrors, right? Juniper Berry can help with that. Diffusing it is a great way, putting, maybe taking your hand, turning the bottle over, and then just kind of rubbing that across your pillow so you can kind of just smell it through the night. That would be a great way to help if you're having nightmares or night terrors. Now, the other gift that Juniper Berry can do is it can help you not be afraid of looking at things. So if you're having nightmares or you're having night terrors, and especially if you're like a teen or an adult, like, let's take the time to dive a little bit deeper and see what's going on in my life that's bringing this on. What things do I need to fix or whatever? And Juniper Berry can help you not be afraid to look at what's going on underneath, okay? So that kind of leads us into the next gift of Juniper Berry, and that is for people who tend to be afraid, and they tend to just not want to look at the bad. They want to just bury their head in the sand saying, nothing bad is ever going to happen to me. If something bad ever happens to them, they don't want to look at it. They don't want to examine why did that happen? Like, could I help prevent it? Anyway, they don't like looking at negative things. And so they often leave themselves very unprotected, and they often don't take the time to learn from past situations because they don't want to look at them. And so they just move on, and often they make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again because they don't want to look at what's really happening and their part in what's really happening. So if you tend to be someone like that, if you tend to have people like that in your family, diffusing Juniper Berry can really help with that. It can help give us the courage to realize that okay, breaking my chain of thought here because I just thought of something that I really want to talk to you. So when I'm talking about people who don't like to look at the bad possibilities in life, okay, so my husband is an attorney, and he does a lot of wills and trusts and estate planning and stuff like that. And so there are so many people out there. They're like, I don't even make a will because I'm never gonna die. You're not gonna die. We don't need to worry about that for years and years. Why should we worry about that? And then they're caught. There's too many people that are caught unawares where their spouse dies, or maybe both parents die, whatever, and then the affairs are just not left in an orderly or right way, and their unwillingness to look at the facts has made it harder. So if you're afraid to get a will because you just don't want to look at the negative, if you're afraid to just do your funeral planning because you don't want to face the fact that you're going to eventually die, here to tell you, you will eventually die. You might as well have your things taken care of the way you want them. You might as well have your funeral planned the way you want it. Don't leave that to your children. Like, they're gonna be under so much emotional anguish anyway from you dying that make life easier for them. So all I'm saying is, if you're the type of person who tends not to want to look at the bad things that might happen, I'm just saying that maybe get your inner Boy Scout on and take the mantra instead. Let's be prepared. You know what? Probably this will never happen, but just in case, let's be prepared for this. Probably, the major catastrophe will never happen, but just in case, let's be prepared with an emergency kit. Probably, an unexpected guest won't show up for Christmas, but just in case, let's be prepared. So can you see that when you're willing to look at negative things that might happen, not saying that an unexpected guest coming to your house for Christmas is negative, but when you're able to look at different scenarios, you are able to plan better and to stay in your happy place better when it does happen. Okay, and if you tend to be one of those people that don't like looking at negative things or the what ifs, the negative what ifs, get your Juniper Berry on and start diffusing it, and see how that helps. I'm just going to say it that way. Juniper Berry can help us with focus and concentration. I think the reason it can help us with that is it makes us not afraid to look at different things and focus on things. It can help us connect with our intuition, and it can help us notice things more of what's going on around us. Now, sometimes we just have our little blinders on and we don't want to notice. Like maybe we don't want to notice the things in our family that are a little bit off, and that really with just a little tweaking and a little support from us might get better. Sometimes we don't want to notice the big things in our life that are off. Like we just put our blinders on, are just hoping that somehow the universe will work as magic and things will just all magically come back together. But I'm just saying, I tend to take more of the gardener approach. Don't let the weeds in your life become so big that they are hard to pull and they take over your whole garden, right? When you see a weed in your garden, just pull it. Just pull it. It's super easy. It doesn't do any damage. It doesn't really hurt any feelings. So let's tackle the problems when they're little instead of they're big. And you need to take the blinders off to do that, and Juniper Berry can help with that. Okay, so I think that's actually, really quick, the negative emotions that Juniper Berry can help with is irrational fears, recurrent nightmares, disruptive sleep, or people who are avoiding. They're just like, yeah, you know what, I don't want to get to that. Some people avoid negative, looking at negative emotions, like, and they're like, yeah, I'm sad, but it's almost like the Scarlett O'Hara from sound from Gone with the Wind. Scarlett O'Hara with Gone with the Wind was famous for saying, I'll look at that tomorrow. I'll think about that tomorrow. I'm not going to think about that today. I'll think about that tomorrow. And sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes we need to say, I don't have time to think about this, and I just need to go on and with my day and then come back and think about this later. But I'm just going to tell you that if you have a lot of different hurts or a lot of different emotions and a lot of different feelings that you just stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff, it's not going to be good. It's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your relationships. So I'm just going to tell you, start cleaning out the fish tank. Start getting rid of the poop in your fish tank. It's okay. Like if you have a ton of fish, or even one in your fish tank, and you never want to look at the poop, right? And your water just gets poopier and poopier and poopier until your fish dies because your water is so toxic. Let's not let the goldfish that are important to us in our lives die because we are afraid to look at the poop and clean it out. Right? Okay, so cleaning out the poop today. Okay, so the positive properties that can help with is feeling protected, peaceful dreaming, feeling courageous, and feeling self-aware. Like we know who we are. If you're the type of person who is afraid to look at your weaknesses, who is afraid to look at your mistakes in the past, Juniper Berry can help. Because, hon, I'm just going to guarantee that when you look from your mistakes in the past, you will be less likely to repeat them in the future. Like, what does that saying say? It says, those who don't study history are bound to repeat it. I think there's some wisdom in that. So if you're the type of person who doesn't like to look at your mistakes in the past or your weaknesses, how are you ever going to strengthen your weakness if you can't even say to yourself, you know what, I have a weakness in this area? You can't. You're probably not going to strengthen your weakness if you can't say to yourself, hey, I have a weakness in this area. So Juniper Berry can just help us be able to look at the positive and the negative aspects in ourselves and have the courage to know, you know what, we really, really can change. So I think it's put into this blend for an amazing reason. Again, the blend that we're diffusing this week is 2 drops of Bergamot, which is the oil of self-acceptance, 2 drops of Helichrysum, which is the oil for pain, emotional or physical pain, and 2 drops of Juniper Berry, which is the oil of the night, the oil of the known. Again, it gives you the gift of being able to see and come to grips with reality. Okay? And, okay. So that's the diffuser blend that we're diffusing this week. Again, I'm going to say that the song that I'm pairing with today's thing is Brave from Sara Bareilles. I want to see you be brave. I want you to say what you want to say. Okay? And two, sometimes it is good to be quiet. So you're just going to have to use your inner judgment and inspiration from God on when it's good to say something and when it's good to be quiet. And it's always good to love. Like, there's never a time where it's not good to be loving. Just wanted to say that one too. Forgive yourself for what you've done in the past that has not made you happy. Let's move on. I know that you have it in you to make it a great day. This is Suzanne Williams with Essential Oils, Health Matters, living the wholesome life, reminding you that you have everything that you need inside you to make it an amazing day. Okay, we'll see ya. Bye-bye.